Hello there, everyone. I am Catriona Rowntree. Welcome to our very first Journeys to Come Travel Forum. This is really a call to arms for our industry, for those eager to learn tips, for those to swap different ideas. Today, we have a remarkable group of people from right across the travel and tourism industries. We have had an extraordinary 2 years. I'm coming to you from ISO right now. I'm in ISO waiting for results to come back. And I suppose this, for many of us, will be our new normal. But right now is a time when many of us want to feel optimistic, want to swap ideas, want to grow businesses. We need help, we need advice. So we've pulled together people from a huge assortment of areas that I'm truly hoping will be of help to you today. Of course, I would like to officially acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are right across Australia today and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. It is a delight to be with you as I welcome Fiona Prosser, the CEO of Globetrotter. We're going to have a little chat about corporate travel and how things are going in the business market. Peter Trembath, or Tremby, who is the brand director for the True North, one of Australia's, if not the world's, top adventure products. We have Adam Ford from the Big Bus Tour and travel guide as well. We'll be finding out about videography. I know we have a lot of travel agents right now who are asking me questions. How do I take things into the social world? How do I do things on YouTube? I'm new to all of this as well. I'm eager to learn. And of course, we have David Mannix from Arcadia Expeditions, who has just joined us as well. So it's going to be a huge assortment of ideas and backgrounds. And we would like to say to you, we've already got questions coming in. If you would like to take part, if you have any questions that you would like to ask, please just go to the chat section and my colleague Jack will make sure that I get the questions, and I will try to move through things swiftly and be respectful of your time as we begin this travel forum. Fiona Prosser, I am going to kick things off with you, if that's okay. For you as the CEO of Globetrotter, I suppose firstly, can you let us know a little bit about your world and what you're looking after?
Thanks so much for having me today. I must admit you're my idol, so this is super exciting for me. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be the world's most travelled woman, but you've taken that title away from me, or a Mrs. Whippy. Anyway, I got the opportunity to work in travel, and I've been here at Globetrotter for the past 10 years. We have three specialist divisions: our corporate sector, which is predominantly our business, but we also have a leisure, a lifestyle arm, and we have an incentive lab.
Well, that's a whole other world. And I know that a strength of yours too is looking after private clients, that personal side, one-on-one. Yes. I'm just curious, when I asked you to be a part of this forum, when we spoke a little while ago, you're in WA, you are busy. Is that right? What's keeping you busy?
Yeah, correct. I think when COVID hit in April 19, Catriona, we literally saw our business die overnight. Our sales turnover and income dropped by 90%. However, our workload increased with all the client policy changes, booking amendments, cancellations and refunds. But one of the biggest opportunities for us came from our corporate clients. They still had a requirement to travel, particularly our clients that manage essential services. Most of those were still required to travel domestically, but also into our FIFO clients from the resort sector still needed to travel internationally, predominantly to North Africa, and you can imagine the complexities we had there. So we had to think outside of the box, look at different ways to get them there, whether that was through charters or normal commercial flights, but it was very, very challenging, completely different routes.
Fiona, is there anything you know now that you wish you had begun earlier? Any advice that you could offer for people in your world?
I think it all came down to communication with our clients and teams. I remember getting a call on a Sunday from one of our clients that said, what do you mean we can't get 20 of our people to Ghana? We've got a mine site to run and we just have to get them there. So we went into their office at a Sunday afternoon, and I think it was all around the communication, bringing in the experts. So my team, it wasn't me that solved the issues, and just sitting down. But yeah, it was unprecedented.
How do you see the future playing out? And I'm asking with a background of two elements. You have a gift for that, that personal connection, one-on-one. I actually think there's a lot of people, in my opinion, who are a little bit out of touch, and they think that this is a realm that may not flourish. But I actually think the opposite will happen, where people want that one-on-one experience. They want that personal connection. How do you see that moving into the future? And how are you working with your staff as well?
I believe going forward, our clients and our travelers will need us much, much more. They'll want that peace of mind and be able to use our expertise and knowledge. They'll need they'll need us to be their trusted advisor, and you can't, they'll need efficiency and expedition to get their travel completed. So I think more and more our client relationship managers will have smaller portfolios, because they'll have to be able to connect much more with the clients. I think on our leisure front, there'll be a lot more planning required, especially for the international side. And for our conference and events, we're definitely seeing our clients wanting to re-engage. Yay.
That's
yes.
my world.
Yes, absolutely. And they're definitely wanting to start to re-engage at the moment. So, but we're seeing that, predominantly in the past, they would have had long lead times. Now there are much shorter lead times. And again, I think, just being able to have those conversations and get the sort of discussions around duty of care and ticking all the boxes in preparation.
I'm glad you say that. That was my instinct as well, that never more so has communication and that personal touch been more valued, more important than right now. And I said at the very start, I feel like this is going to be an optimistic forum. You will leave here feeling better about travel, tourism. Tell me, what do you think are some of the biggest opportunities in domestic travel over the next, say, 6 to 12 months?
We're definitely seeing travel return, and I think Australians are ticking off their Australian bucket list and exploring their own backyard. They want that local experience, and I suppose here's a plug for Tremby, but they want that, the True North cruises, the more intimate experience opportunities. We're definitely still seeing multi-generational trips being planned, particularly to regional homestays that offer outdoor adventures. We're seeing cultural tourism coming back. People are definitely wanting that more cultural aspect. And so I'm sure David will share something a little bit later. Secluded escapes and getaways that promote health and well-being, and great food and wine is, we're getting asked about that all of the time. Staycations are definitely here to stay for the next year, and I think that's more around luxury and boutique hotels. I think suppliers need to make sure they're COVID-19 accredited and promote this. Flexibility will be key. We still think, there's going to be restrictions from time to time, so people need to feel confident that they can amend or cancel. And as I said, employees want to engage with their team, so there's an opportunity to promote and deliver shorter conferences that bring team-togethers in the great outdoors.
I just want to quickly ask, you are at the coalface in regards to international travel. That's continued for you through hell or high water over the last 2 years. But what are you seeing happening in other countries that's working that will possibly be adopted here in the near future?
I was talking to one of our US partners yesterday, their domestic travel is back to 50% of their pre-pandemic levels. And I think on the 8th of November, they open up to the outside world. And I think it's all around vaccinations. People need to be vaccinated and have had a negative test 72 hours prior to traveling. In China, domestically, they're back at 80% of pre-pandemic domestic travel levels. And in the UK, our partners are telling me Europe is back to normal. Restrictions have been removed, testing reduced, and I think at last check, there were only 7 countries on their red list. Right. So I think I sort of did a little jig yesterday when I was on an international SOS call, and they said 79% of companies are ready to commence business critical international travel. So international travel is definitely back on the horizon if you're vaccinated. And I think if you're vaccinated, apparently you can travel to 62 countries now.
Thank you, Fiona. I'm so glad that we started on a high note. I knew this would happen, but I'm thrilled that you're able to back that up with those stats. I'm going to turn now to adventure travel, adventure tourism, a cruise company that's considered one of the best in the world, and a company that's been around for, I think it's 30 years. So they have been through all sorts of different challenges. So let's get their take on adventure travel and how to, pardon the pun, but manage these choppy waters that we've been going through that may be coming up right now. Would you please welcome the brand director of True North, the iconic Australian company. Please welcome my friend Tremby. Hello, how are you? Can you tell us a little bit about how you'd sum up the True North?
I'd like to say that True North has such a great brand because they've got such a great brand director, but that probably would get me into a fair bit of trouble, so I won't say that. But there is a fair bit that I can say about what makes the True North brand so well regarded. And like any story, it's probably best to start at the beginning. True North is a pioneer. The company's founding director, another good friend of yours, Craig Howson, was the first to offer regular trips along the Kimberley coast way back in 1987. And of course, being a pioneer always gives you a head start on everyone else. When Craig first started exploring the Kimberley coast, it was still pretty much an unknown. So there was certainly lots of adventure when we started out, but perhaps more important than anything else, we've never stopped adding to that adventure. Even as we speak, our crew will be adding something new to the True North's repertoire. And when you've been adding to your repertoire for more than 30 years, you end up a long way in front when it comes to making sure that your guests truly get to appreciate the destination. And the True North itself, of course, is a key component of all that adventure. The ship is purpose-built to go where other ships can't go. It features an exceptionally shallow draft, which enables us to access shallow coastal areas and river systems. But we're not finished there. We carry 6 dedicated adventure boats that allow for exploring even further and for scheduling different activities at the same time. And of course, the ship's helicopter adds a completely different dimension to the adventure. Now, the True North is pretty comfortable and stylish. I know you would have found that when you were on board. We've got a great reputation for onboard dining, and it's fair to say that our guests do fall in love with the True North. But she's definitely not the focus of what we do. There's no casinos on board and no swimming pools, I'm afraid. We like to consider the True North to be an adventure platform. It's a vehicle that is designed to deliver our guests right into the very heart of wilderness that would otherwise be very difficult to access. And beyond that, the focus is very much on the destination. In fact, our guests spend most of every day engaged in off-ship activities, and those activities offered might include snorkeling, diving, fishing, natural history appreciation.
Fiona mentioned 2 things that are strengths of yours. That was intergenerational travel. When I was on board, we actually had grandpas taking out my children out on fishing trips, and also what we're talking or terming cultural tourism as well. I can see one of our guests who have joined us is one of the heads of Big Four holiday parks, and I helped out with a conference of theirs earlier this week, and it was absolutely fascinating to see that people, one of the experiences that they're demanding is they want more of that cultural side of Australia. Of course, they want to have more of our food and wine. These are strengths of yours. May I ask, how have things gone for you? What have you learned over the last year or so? Respectfully, you are based in WA, but you would have had a time. How have things gone?
We knew that there'd be many things that were going to be beyond our control. So from the very outset, we knew that our best course of action was to stay true to what we do. We basically ensured that we continued to provide a travel experience that was exceptional in every regard. And in doing so, we knew that we would give ourselves the best possible opportunity to ride out those circumstances that were beyond our control. So in essence, we made sure that we continued to offer the opportunity to experience life on board the True North to those who were still able to join us. And we ensured that our market-leading standards were not compromised in any way. But having said all that, it would be remiss of me not to acknowledge that our circumstances were quite different in WA compared to some other states. And I sympathise greatly with those who experienced extended periods where they simply weren't able to trade on.
How are you setting them up for the future? How are you widening the embrace for your staff as you move into this new realm?
Communication was the key. We essentially stayed up to date with government advice, and then we did our best to interpret as a team how those constantly changing circumstances might develop. And then we undertook to make our calls early. Obviously, we kept our team informed of what we were planning, but we also made sure that our guests were advised early of any potential disruption. I mean, as a traveller, you never want to hear that something is going to be rescheduled, but that disappointment can be minimised if you get early enough notice and if you have a solid plan B.
We are dreaming about taking adventure trips. I have felt that I've been in communication with you because I follow you on social media. It seems to be a strong point of yours. Can you offer some advice with what you're doing right there, what you're learning there? I can't actually go on one of your trips, but I have still felt that sense of connection.
You know, the best thing about our social media program is that we have someone who's dedicated to managing the program, and he has a much more impressive title than I do. He's called our digital media supervisor, and his name is Ollie, and we're so fortunate to have Ollie on our team. He's a guru when it comes to all things social media, and he's constantly keeping our social media channels alive with the stunning vision that we capture on the True North, and hopefully, you know, that vision is helping people to keep their dreams alive.
People want to learn about the culture. They want to know. They want to know more. They have a thirst for it. It's a strength of yours once again. Can you guide us a little bit about that realm? And I suppose also about the term cultural tourism.
Being on board the True North is all about people. It's about the people you're traveling with, obviously, but also the people that you encounter on our adventures. And we have an advantage we've got a couple of advantages. One, with the True North, we're able to access areas where perhaps there are no facilities, and certainly that's the case in a lot of places in Indonesia and Papua New Guinea, and certainly in the Kimberley as well. And because we have this exceptionally shallow draft, we can get into these coastal areas. And the other major advantage that we have is the small group. So, you know, we can access, for example, a small village in Papua New Guinea because of the True North shallow draft. We can get right into adjacent to the village, and then we can go ashore in a small group. So we don't overwhelm the people in the village, and that gives us this opportunity to have this, you know, really personal interaction with the people that are living in the area.
You mentioned the boat, the vehicle you're in, so to speak, that works. But to set something like that up, that will be a once in a lifetime experience for many people, a memorable experience for many people, that is really hard to do, to make the connection, to set that up, to make sure your information is right. What's your gift there? You seem to do that very well.
The first thing that comes to mind is 30 years of experience. I mean, when you go on board the True North, you can see that there is basically 30 years of experience gone into putting the whole vessel together.
Just before I move on, really difficult question. What's your favourite trip?
For me, it's easy. It's the Rolly Shoals because, you know, I've got a diving background, and the diving at the Rollies is so special. It's not just the coral and the fish life. It's the wilderness feeling that you have when you're out there. Generally, when you're at the Rollies, you don't see any other boats. So you have this feeling that you have the whole place to yourself. So yeah, an easy one for me to answer, the Rolly Shoals.
I love it. That is top of my bucket list. Thank you very much for that. Now, you mentioned the brilliance of Ollie, who is in charge of your social media. Now, I know that there are a lot of people listening right now who will understand that that individual in their company is to be so valued. Their knowledge is everything right now. And it's something for me that I have training wheels on, and I'm eager to learn more. And certainly over the last 18 months, I've really enjoyed learning all of the new technology and talking to people. How do I do this? How do I do that? And I think it's really important that for some of the people listening right now, they are eager to take their businesses into new worlds, into new realms. The person that we're going to chat to next is a master at that, maybe using your video for marketing. Would you please welcome from Queensland? We are chatting to Adam Ford of the Big Bus Tour, who's also a travel guide and is incredibly creative with his marketing. So would you please welcome Adam? And Adam, firstly, give us an idea of what your business is all about.
Hey, Catriona, you're too kind. That's the best introduction I think I've ever had.
You just got these skills that I wish I had, that seem to come naturally to you, and that a lot of people would like to learn from.
Just so everybody knows what we do. In my company, we do a couple of different things. We're an OTA, a small independent OTA. So we sell tours and experiences online on our website. So that's one part of our business. The other part of our business is that we provide content for other travel partners. So we do video, we do editorial, we do posts, we do blog, we do the whole kind of kit with your boodle. Really interesting what Fiona said at the beginning of the pandemic. Our business just went off a cliff. It just plunged. And I sort of sat there for a bit like everybody else thinking, oh, woe is me, what am I going to do? And then I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to make the most of this situation, and I'm going to really focus on some of the things that we don't traditionally get a lot of time to focus on, and I'm going to make something out of this situation. And for me, it was video. So we were pretty active already on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and so on. We'd done a bit of video in the past. We had a YouTube channel. It was underutilized. We had some content on there. But one of the things that has stopped me so long from making anything out of that video and really pushing that forward was the lack of expertise. So I, like you, had done a bit of presenting in the past. So I had quite a bit of stock vision that I had, but had never been able to do anything with because I couldn't edit for a start. So one of the things I did at the beginning of the pandemic was actually go out and learn how to edit. I did a short course in Brisbane at a City Desktop Publishing, I think it was called, or something like that. It was a one-day course in video editing. Cost me, I don't know, a couple of $100. And I tell you what, best couple of $100
course you've ever done.
Unbelievable. Because once you've got the skills, you can put it to good use and make it work for your business. So getting that skill was sort of the key to unlocking video for us. And one of the staggering things I just want to put on the table for everybody is this number, 2.3 billion is the number of active users that engage with YouTube on a monthly basis. 2.3 billion people. Now that's a third of the population on the planet are engaging with video. What I love about it though, is that you don't have to be a huge entity to actually be a success in that forum. So long as you're providing video content that people want to watch, that's good quality, that suits your brand, that offers something to people, you can make a go of it in that space. Very different to sort of competing for SERP results with editorial content. It's so competitive, we all know that. But in the video space, you can actually carve yourself out a niche in that 2.3 billion audience pretty easily once you've got those skills.
What should you never do?
One of the things you'd never do is have bad sound with your video. People will forgive vision that's, you know, a little bit shaky or a bit this or a bit that, as long as it's perhaps you've got a grassroots brand, you use stuff shot just by hand or whatever, and it's a bit shaky, that's okay. What they won't forgive is bad audio. So human beings can't actually listen to bad audio for an extended period. We will switch it off. We'll persevere for a couple of, maybe a minute, but if it's sketchy and staticky and not, you know, jars on the ear, that is an immediate death knell for your video. So if you're going to use sound in whatever form it's going to be, make sure it's good quality. Invest in some sound gear if you want to record digitally, but just be really careful with that, because bad sound will kill your video faster than anything else.
What do you use?
We use a couple of different things, actually. I bought a small digital recorder online. I can't think of the brand name, but it's you know, tiny. You can plug a lapel microphone into it. So what I do if I'm interviewing somebody for a video, for example, on location, I just put the lapel on them, tuck the mic and the recorder into their pocket. I don't actually have a separate unit. I just make sure it's on hold, so it's recording. Away we go. It just gives me that digital soundtrack that is good quality. The other thing I'll do is if we're doing voiceovers for videos, so we use voiceover in all our videos because I just think it adds a little sort of professional finish to the video. We go to a local studio. It's $60 for a session, not a lot. We go to the studio and we record the voiceover professionally, and it just gives us that extra bit of edge. So it just pay particular attention to sound.
I can add, I'm still learning how to use them, but Camera House, you can buy mics, Rode mics online. And for me at Getaway, something that totally changed my life is I had someone teach me how to do GarageBand on my computer, and I have a special Rode mic, and my studio is actually my kitchen pantry. Don't tell anybody else. My kitchen pantry, and I do everything from the kitchen pantry that works. You mentioned you had one more thing that you should never do with your videos.
You should never just put a video on YouTube and hope for the best. That's another thing that people tend to do. So if you've put all this effort into making the video, you've been through all the steps, you've researched the type of content you want to make, you've gone out there and shot it, you've learned to edit, you've put it together, you've got great sound, and then you stick it on YouTube and you kind of forget about it and hope for the best. That you should never do that. There are so many ways that you can optimize your video for YouTube. So spend some time learning about all of the tools that YouTube has available to creators to actually optimize your video. It's all about descriptions, chapters, tags, screens, end screens that they offer. You can have little interactive titles that'll pop up through your video that people can actually click on so they can interact with the video as it's playing. So for example, we've just done a video on the 10 best things to do in Brisbane. So throughout that video, there are tags you can tick on to a Brisbane travel guide. You can tick on a tag that will let you book a particular tour. There's a whole bunch of ways that you can actually make that video quite interactive and get more from it than just having it there and people watching it and hoping that they'll call you at the end of it.
Tell me, how did you grow your subscribers? Because what are you at now? It's massive.
I mean, it's massive for us. I mean, when we started the pandemic, I think we had about just under 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So we had a few, but as I said earlier, I wasn't doing a whole lot with it. Now we've got about 4,500, getting up towards 5. So that's been pretty good growth for us over the course of the pandemic. And it's by far and away our fastest growing social channel, which is sensational. And I think what it really comes down to is assessing, first of all, know who your audience is, know what you want to tell them and what you want to deliver to them. You've got to know who you want to talk to, and you've got to know how you want to say it and what you actually want to say. So I made the decision quite early on that we weren't going to do short form video. We were only really going to do long form video. So longer pieces that are more informative, that have more information, that have interviews, that are useful for the viewer over a longer term. And I've actually found for us that YouTube actually prefers that from us. So we don't have long form, some of them are up to 20 minutes.
Oh, so, great.
You know, TV show length kind of thing. And what I have found over time is that those videos perform better than short form videos over time. So because YouTube likes that content, it will continue to show it to people over an extended period of time, and you'll continue to get the benefit from it. So for example, we've got a Tasmania video on there, 10 top things to do in Tasmania. We published that at the beginning of the pandemic. So that's 2 years ago, basically. That's up to about 150,000 views and continuing to climb. So, and it's 20 minutes long. So it's not a short a short or a TikTok or anything like that. It's actually a long form video that's got a lot of information in it. But that's actually what I wanted to do to communicate with our audience, was to actually give them videos that they can actually watch and go, you know what, I really get something out of that. I've got 10 things I can do in Tassie. Let's go.
And the wonderful thing about this realm is that it can be watched for years to come, if it be for years to come. Just before we move on, I'm trying to be respectful of time, but I mentioned before that we have a lot of travel agents who are a part of this community, but there also are guides. I know that for Tremby, he's in direct communication with guides as well. Can you give us some advice for maybe a travel guide that's listening, watching right now? And I know it's a skill of yours. What advice can you say to them moving forward?
Hang in there is last year was tough, but this year's been even tougher. But I think we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and we're starting to move towards some sort of resolution in this whole situation. Really, again, there's all sorts of travel guides out there. There are people who are doing their own, designing their own tours and doing them online, doing free tours and all sorts of stuff. I think be ready to roll. Know what your product is, polish your product, keep it polished, keep yourself ready to roll, but be true, as Tremby said, actually be true to what you do and who you are and what you deliver to people. I think that's a really important thing to remember. It's been a long, hard road, but we're getting to the end of it. Be true to yourself, be true to your product, be true to what you do, be true to your destination, and show the love. That's essentially what it's about. I say to travel writers all the time that write for us, if you can't find the love for your destination or what you're writing about, you're in the wrong job.
Absolutely.
So, find the love, be true to yourself, be true to the destination, and away you go.
What we're going to turn to now is the luxury market. Australia is home to some of the most extraordinary luxury lodges on the planet. And there is actually a group of them called luxury lodges. And they really get back to what we were talking about, that your customers want right now, and that is experiences. They want places to be clean. They want to feel safe. They want to feel that they are communicating directly with you. These are strengths of these companies that are, I hate to use the word, but they are totally unique in their own realm, and they're the best at what they do. So let's move into the world of their CEO, the CEO of Luxury Lodges. Here is Penny Rafferty.
We formed to collectively market to the world because they're all small properties. But domestically, we've always had a little bit of a sneaky following. I call them the LLOA junkies, the people that sort of come up to me when I'm at a lodge with my little white brochure going, oh, is this yours? This is our passport to Australia. And so they're definitely our LLOA junkies, Luxury Lodges of Australia junkies.
Previously, as you well know, international guests would give you full bookings, and international guests would quite often just go from one lodge to the next lodge to the next lodge. You want the best of the best. You want to have animals, wildlife on tap. Boom, off to Southern Ocean Lodge you go. You want to go and have the world's best fishing. Boom, you're off on the True North. And life was full. Life was busy with that international clientele. So if we educate the domestic market, could you please tell us what actually constitutes membership onto this remarkable list?
The lodges are much more than just a place to stay. So to be part, it's a membership association. It's owned by the members. It's not a sales group as such. And to be a member of Luxury Lodges of Australia, the lodges must deliver an experience of place, connecting guests to that unique Australian region that they're in. So whether it is, and I kind of nickname it safari in Australia, whether it is wildlife, desert, marine on the reef, a wine safari, an outback safari. So it's the experiences that the lodges deliver, underpinned by all the soft luxuries that people expect: the eat well, the drink well, the sleep well, and the beautiful bricks and mortar. Some of them are beautiful architect designed lodges. Some of them are actually luxury safari camps, but it is their delivery of an experience that is uniquely, genuinely Australian that is what connects, what unites them.
And yet they have such a strength of character. Is that fair?
Absolutely. And so with True North, I call it a floating lodge because it operates as a base camp for adventure off the ship. So whether you're on one of the 6 expedition boats or the helicopter, it's every day, as Tremby often says, is an adventure day. But I guess for us, the luxury component of the luxury lodges of Australia it's not measured in square meters of marble and bling and things. The true luxury is that exclusivity of access to amazing locations, Australian locations, but it is also that access to the knowledge, the skill, the craftsmanship, the natural isolation in a lot of places that people will be craving more now than ever. But it is that access to, the guides. I call them the secret sauce. They're the ones that really bring to life incredibly dramatic, vast, unusual landscapes. And the uniquely Australian component of each of those landscapes, I think, between the 19 lodges, they demonstrate the depth and diversity of what we have on this extraordinarily large island continent of ours.
It's one thing to have that great location. I often say you can have all the bells and whistles with your building, but if you don't have, 5 out of 5 in regards to your level of service, it doesn't mean anything. What are they getting right on the service realm?
Definitely, staff guest ratio is part of that. You do have a high level of staff guest ratio. So True North, you've got maximum 36 guests in 18 cabins. You've generally got a crew of about 20 to 22 people. And they are there to not just serve you. And Australia's style of service is very different. We're kind of cheeky. We're not servile as you would find in many other destinations. But it is about that brief that staff have to connect guests with the place. So the trust in their knowledge, absolutely that sense of warmth and welcome is critical, but also a lot of work goes into making sure that every staff member is intuitive about the different guest kind of types and how to draw them into that experience of place, that sense of place, as well as deliver the goods, deliver the meals, deliver the drinks, the perfectly mixed G&Ts at sunset on the beach as a pop-up or whatever it is. So the act of service is one thing, but it's that intuitive service and that intuition and that reading of guests, the emotional intelligence.
Now have the challenge in the immediate future to tap into an Australian market initially. How do we do that?
Just slightly more than half of the visitors and guests at the lodges were domestic. Obviously, everybody in the last 18 months has been domestic when the lodges have been open. And I think it's been really refreshing to get feedback from Australians who I know would normally travel overseas 2 or 3 times a year, who have genuinely been surprised at the diversity and the quality of what we have here. They're our ambassadors. We've now got a lockdown or pandemic generation of ambassadors who I hope will actually not only speak to their friends here, but also speak to their friends and people they meet when they're travelling further afield. I think there's all of the things that have been at the heart of luxury lodges of Australia since day one. Our natural isolation, small numbers of people, high levels of service, incredibly surprising diversity of experiences and high quality experiences. All of those things are more now than ever what people are looking for when they travel.
Well, thank you so much to Penny Rafferty, who is the CEO of Luxury Lodges, a whole other realm. But aren't you finding that there is a common theme that's running through all of our experts? The emotional intelligence, communication, connecting with people. And I'm loving the fact that everyone so far has an element of positivity and optimism of what we have coming up. And right now we're going to go to Sydney to chat about something completely different for you. And that is about the joy of storytelling in travel. So now I would like to cross to David Mannix from Arcadia Expeditions. So tell us a little bit about your company, David.
What we do is we run immersive small group expeditions to some very exotic places around the world. So I've been in the travel industry for about 20 years now, and I've teamed up with quite a renowned documentary maker and historian called David Adams, who's also here in Sydney. And I think it's probably the first time in the industry that's ever happened. So our concept is actually based on that. It's the documentary without the film crew. So like any good documentary, we lead with the story. We have so many stories that we can tell you about, but in this case, the stories haven't been told before. So what we do is we have a world-leading expert. They could be the person who wrote the book, or a journalist or an academic who acts as the narrator for that story. And then, like any documentary crew, Catriona, you would have seen this during your filming days, documentary crews get access which the public can't most of the time. So our expeditions are the same, that we get access to archaeological dig sites to meet the archaeologists when we're at a museum. The curator comes and takes people around to the back stores and sees some of these other exhibits. So really, we've been working a lot on creating during this sort of downtime for the pandemic. For example, we just released recently a trip to Georgia, which looks at that revolution in food and wine. And we've got this amazing storyteller, an American guy who's lived in Georgia for 20 years, and he's behind the resurgence in old organic winemaking techniques. And we basically spend some time with him, seeing his mates around the country, who are the best winemakers and best chefs in the country. Another one we've released also recently is to Sudan. We followed the course of the Yellow Nile. Not many people know there was actually 3 Niles. Everyone knows the White and Blue Nile. So we're really following this now dry riverbed and looking at some of those civilizations that sprung up along this incredible place.
You've really mastered the marketing element as well, just for people that are interested in that. How do you bring the stories to life in your marketing as well?
Yeah, I think all of us in the travel industry over this time, it's been our job to inspire. And I think everybody's done that just so well, just to keep in front of people and inspiring them and getting them to dream. I guess for us, we sort of feel there's been this enforced stay-at-home Netflix culture in a way, where everybody's sitting at home, watching 1,000 movies and 1,000 documentaries. So I guess what we're saying in our marketing is, well, that time is just about over now. So come and experience a real documentary with us. I think that sort of worked, and, getting people to understand that these bucket list trips are coming up now, and getting them to, I think it was Peter who said it was all about the people, and you've mentioned it already, Catriona. Traveling is all about the people. So we want to try and bring that to life in our marketing. You're going to meet these people when you're over in Sudan, or when you're in Cuba or India with us.
Could you share with us what makes a great story? How do you find them? How do you share them well?
I think what makes a great story is the way you tell it. Everybody has a story, but I think gone are the days where you're standing in front of a marble statue or in front of a painting for an hour, particularly at the high end of the market. They don't want to hear that anymore. So, we're very careful to make sure people understand these aren't lecture tours. We might have a world-leading academic, but they're chosen for their ability to communicate information. We like to do it over a campfire in Namibia with a G&T in hand, or going to in a nomad camp in Iran and sitting down and having a meal and sharing those stories. They're the best places to do it. But it's interesting you say about how we choose it, because we get probably interview about a dozen or so people for each trip to find the right person, and we've rejected some amazing people. I remember there was one, we've got a trip to Turkey, which is following the story of Rumi, who's a poet and philosopher, and that sort of religious side of mystical side of Islam. And we interviewed the guy who's considered the world leading expert on Rumi. He's translating his poetry from Persian to English for the very first time. And we interviewed him, and he was just amazing on paper. But I'll tell you what, he would have lost our group on day 2. So we had to tell him, we don't want to work with you, and we ended up finding this incredible woman who's a lecturer in Vancouver. She's a Sufi person herself, is very knowledgeable about Rumi and Turkey. So we chose her instead, even though she may not be as qualified as the other gent.
Why'd you choose her? I'm asking this question. I'll frame this question. I know the people that are listening and watching now, we're in all different realms of travel. As I mentioned, some might be operating a local caravan park. We might have tour guides. We could have real estate agents. How do you what's the strength of that person that you go, yeah, you're going to work?
Yeah, it's really their ability to be able to communicate effectively and in the right way. You can be really book smart, but if you're dry and you're on a short bus trip or wherever it might be, and you're not delivering the information with passion. I mean, the woman we've chosen, her name is Simi. She is such a spiritual person, and we're following Rumi's spiritual journey in Turkey. So it was a great match. And she's also an expert in comparative religion. So even a main site like Ephesus in Turkey, which a lot of you would have been to, she knows the story that, Mary has spent time at Ephesus and what that means. So it's really just that, that X factor, that sort of extra things that they can add. And I guess it's not them, it's just them as well. So on each of our expeditions, we sort of say it's like a traveling dinner party. So we've got a very small group of say 10, 12 or 16 max. And almost every day we're bringing people to that party as it moves around the country. So it could be an expert who is in the Rhino Foundation in Botswana, they come to dinner. When we're in Papua New Guinea, we're with some of the tribes. In Cuba, we've curated a meeting with Che Guevara's son because we're following the course of the revolution. So we're bringing people all the way to our table as it moves around.
Tell me, what are you looking forward to in the near future in regards to travel?
For me, I think it's really about those bucket list trips. I mean, that's what people are wanting to do. We've had calls even just recently of people who want to book, a couple of years in advance. So I think really just offering something different. The market is, especially at the high end, is really after those exclusive experiences that only you can get. So I think it's important for us as a business to cater for those different demands and go somewhere different, do it differently. People are, I think, a bit sick of the cookie cutter travel product that we sort of keep seeing. So I think innovation is probably what the market is after, and that's where we're heading at the moment.
I'm going to direct a question now, thank you very much for that, towards Fiona. I can see that Michael Fitzpatrick has directed this to all, but this might be easier for you, Fiona. And it's really just to touch on what you're finding in your discussions with travel decision makers. Have you found that there is a pent-up demand for travel, or is there some hesitancy? Do you think that companies now see a greater benefit in using a travel company in a post-COVID world? What are your insights on that?
Oh, absolutely. There's a pent-up demand, Catriona. I mean, every corporate client, every leisure client, every conference and event client that we are speaking to, the narrative has changed in the last sort of 6 weeks. There's definitely pent-up demand. We're already seeing a lot of CEOs, sales managers, site managers booking trips now internationally. They feel they need to connect with their teams, their suppliers, their clients. So absolutely. On the leisure perspective, I think we're definitely seeing a bit more around visiting family and friends. And I think, Michael, you asked, is there some hesitancy? Yes, there is. I think everyone is waiting to see what's going to happen in the next sort of 2 or 3 months, whether there will continue to be snap lockdowns or border changes. Yes, I think people are still a little bit cautious, but definitely there's pent-up demand. And yes, I definitely think we're going to see a greater use of travel agencies and travel management companies. I mean, across the board, we've heard over the past 18 months some horror stories about people being provided the wrong information, the cost, just managing tickets and credits, even on a personal level, let alone a corporate level, is become much, much more difficult and challenging. People need up-to-date advice. They also want to be looked after, along the journey. So all the pre-preparation is great, but they want to know they can pick up the phone and someone's going to sort it all out very quickly for them along the journey if things change.
Can I just ask you, Tremby, communication is your strength, as Fiona said. You've mastered that part. But what are you finding is the call from your guests coming up? What do you think they're searching for?
We're finding, Fiona was talking about Queensland before. I mean, as soon as they announced that, or as soon as the West Australian government announced that Queenslanders could travel to Western Australia again, the phone started ringing. So there was no hesitancy whatsoever. So to answer your question, I think people are just looking for that green light. And as soon as they get that green light, they're off and away.
Yeah, I think it is a really exciting time for domestic travel, certainly. For you, Adam, is there an untapped market that you can't wait to sink your teeth into, so to speak?
We just can't wait to sink our teeth back into our our normal market. Should they be there on the other side? I'm sure they will be. Look, I agree with everything everybody said. People are ready to roll. They just need some just have a sense of security that they're going to be able to travel, that they're going to be able to take part in whatever they've booked, that they're going to be able to do it safely, and that's, you know, if things need to change, if there are problems, that they will be able to change their arrangements. That's been a big problem, I think, for a lot of people, is that uncertainty about being able to change their arrangements if they need to. Because we spent probably, you know, the first 4 months of last year just issuing refunds, which was heartbreaking, but we made the decision that we were not going to hold anybody's funds. We would give it all back, and there just didn't seem any other way that we could do it, and we did that. I'm glad that we did. But people want that certainty that if, you know, things do change, if there is a problem, they will be able to change their arrangements quickly and easily, and that, you know, their funds are secure. So I think if you can nail all those things when people are ready to go.
Certainty is everything. And just quickly, David, may I ask, you've just spoken about some of the dreamiest expeditions. What for you is the one that you're like, oh, please let me do that?
That's a tough question. It's like asking a parent who's their favorite child, I think. I would say for me, look, I think this trip to Sudan, I think, is a really interesting one. It's no one in the world is doing what we're doing. And it's not only tracing that old Yellow Nile, but it's going up into the kingdom of the Black Pharaohs. Not many people know there's 3 times as many pyramids in Sudan than in Egypt. Yeah, so we're heading up there, camping in remote places. And then we finish the trip by, we've hired an Italian schooner, and we've got 6 days going down the Red Sea coast, you know, snorkeling with whale sharks, and no one goes to this area. So that kind of trip for me is really exciting and groundbreaking.
God, that sounds pretty darn amazing. Keep us posted about that. Well, thank you so much to all of our experts. I'm aware that we are slowly drawing to a close of our hour. We always try to be really respectful of your precious time. But I just wanted to reach out to all of you listening and watching right now to say, please get in touch with us at Journeys to Come. If there's any way that we can help your business, maybe we can do an Ask the Concierge, maybe we can do a story, we can do a Q&A, we can do a trivia section on your realm. Jack is always open to suggestions, to ideas. And what we are certainly learning in regards to our industry is that communication is key. I thought I'd just shout out some of the tips that I was picking up from what we were talking about over the last hour. And I love the fact that every single person, whether they are the CEO of luxury lodges, whether we are looking after guides, but your level of communication is everything. I love that term, emotional intelligence, as well. So the person that's picking up the phone front of house, you must make sure that they are well briefed, that the best person possible is in that position. And if it's not their strength, it's okay, move people about. I also wrote down the video editing course, $200, I think it was, 2.3 billion active users on YouTube every single month. People will not put up with bad sound. You know, at the moment, I have to say my children are about to walk in the door with ferrets. In a Zoom realm, people seem to be very forgiving of that, but I do understand they will not forgive bad sound. Guides, focus on what you love. True luxury is about exclusivity of access, high staff to guest ratios. Cultural tourism is our big buzzword right now, people looking for those experiences. The guides are the secret sauce. They are your gem. Value those people. And right across the board, everybody is saying certainty for your guests is everything. That is what they really want and need right now. So thank you once again to all of our experts in their field. Thank you for taking the time to join us in our very first Journeys to Come Travel Forum. To Fiona Prosser, good luck with all of your corporate travel. Thank you so much to Tremby, the brand director of the True North, to Adam Ford, the Big Bus Tour and Travel Guide, and also thank you so much to David Mannix from Arcadia Expeditions. Now, if you want any information of those places, we will have all of that information on Journeys to Come. And I also need to say thank you so much to Karen Williams for orchestrating today's forum, and also to Jack Walden. Thank you for looking after everything and making sure this can happen. And above all, thank you to you for supporting our wonderful industry and for taking time out of your day to join this fantastic forum. Thank you again for your time. We'll see you soon. Bye for now. Journeys to Come.